Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 2, Chapter 9, answers by citing the Lord's version. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharani Nivasesha Sunyavari Pascha Chadesha Tarane Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we're going to read back to text number 8 and then 9 and then today is 10, which has a quite a long purport. So Sukadeva Goswami is beginning to, he's praising Parikshit Maharaj for his questions, and he's beginning to answer some of these questions and things that are relative to the further answering of further questions. So text number 8, Lord Brahma underwent penances for 1,000 years by the calculation of the demigods. He heard this transcendental vibration from the sky and he accepted it as divine, and thus he controlled his mind and senses, and the penances which he executed were a great lesson for living entities, and thus he is known as the greatest of all ascetics. In text number 9, Personality of Godhead, being very much satisfied with the penance of Lord Brahma, was pleased to manifest his personal abode, Vaikuntha, the supreme planet above all others. This transcendental abode of the Lord is adored by all self-realized persons, freed from all kinds of miseries and fearfulness of illusory existence. And text number 10. Parvatante yatra rajas tamastayo sattvam cha mishtram nachakala vikramana nayatra mayam kim utapare hare anuvrata yatra sura sura chitaha sura sura chitaha sura sura chitaha. Devotees wherein demigods, asura, demons worshipped. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. In that personal abode of the Lord, the material mode of ignorance and passion do not prevail, nor is there any of their influence in the matter of goodness. There is no predominance of the influence of time, in what to speak of the illusory external energy that cannot enter in that region. Without discrimination, both the demigods and the demons worship the Lord as devotees. Peculiar. We always think that demons are only in the material world. I'm going to read that again. In the personal abode of the Lord, the material modes of ignorance and passion do not prevail, nor is there any of their influence in the matter of goodness. There is no predominance of the influence of time, so what to speak of the illusory external energy that cannot enter in that region? Without discrimination, both the demigods and the demons worshipped the Lord as devotees. Now, maybe that's referring to the demigods. Obviously, that's got to be the material world, and the demons got to be the material world. But sometimes we don't have a clear idea. Of course, we can't have a clear idea without actually experiencing the Vaikuntha world, because the Vaikuntha world is, we try to grasp an idea of it by use of words and descriptions, but clearly we can't really understand it or feel it or understand it clearly and perfectly without being there. when you're there, then you obviously understand it very clearly. It's just like someone trying to describe something on this planet, you know. You've never heard of the Himalayan mountains, but someone is just trying to describe these gigantic rocky, snowy mountain peaks, and no matter how much they try to describe these things with words, nothing can actually take the place of actually being there and seeing the Himalayan mountains, you see. So as much as we try to understand the spiritual realm, free from the modes of passion and ignorance, and even goodness, material goodness, where the presence of time is absent, it is difficult to comprehend with the intelligence we've been given, and the words that we have to deal with to try and explain these things. But that's the mercy of the great personalities, is that they try in every way they possibly can to find the words that will convey the right ideas and thoughts and try to give us an idea of what that spiritual realm is like. Okay, now Srila Prabhupada is going to describe a few things. The kingdom of God, or the atmosphere of Vaikuntha, nature, which is called Tripad Vibhuti, is 3 times bigger than the material universes, and is described here, as also in Bhagavad Gita, in a nutshell. This universe, containing billions of stars and planets, is one of the billions of such universes clustered together within the compass of the Mahatattva. And all of these millions and billions of universes combined together constitute only 1/4 of the magnitude of the whole creation of the Lord. That's why it says this cloudy area where material existence is predominant is only 1/4 of the kingdom of God. That's just to give us an idea that the material world is smaller, although very large, smaller than the spiritual world. And all these millions and billions of universes combined together constitute only 1/4 of the magnitude of the whole creation. There is the spiritual sky also, and beyond this sky, the spiritual planets are there under the names of Vaikuntha, and all of them constitute 3/4 of the entire creation of the Lord. So 3/4 and 1/4. We're in the 1/4 category. Although it's very large. It's not small at all. We're small. We're tiny. Very, very, very small. 10,000, the tip of a hair is the size of the atomic soul. And there's lots of them. Innumerable, uncountable number of jiva souls within creation, you can imagine. And basically their job, our job, as jiva souls, is to sustain the material creation, that 1/4 area, to go about the business of procreation and time and birth and death and samsara and everything that goes on in this little gigantic 1/4 material creation. It's a kind of a thankless task in one way. You're just thrown together with all the other jivas and you just kind of sustain the universe. It's not very exciting when you think about it. And then you think about samsara, birth and death, disease, old age. You have to undergo all of that while you're sustaining the universe. Birth, death, disease, and old age, and sustain the universe at the same time. So in this way, the creation goes on. And so if you get tired of sustaining the universe, if you're a jiva and you've just had it with, this sustaining program of the material universe, then you can actually opt out. You can opt out. And nobody will notice if you're gone, okay? Because all the jivas in the material world, they're pretty much, invisible invisible persons. You don't really know them. They're just millions and billions and gazillions of little jiva souls sustaining the universe. And nobody really knows their name. Nobody knows their name except Krishna. Krishna knows all the names of all those innumerable jivas. But we don't know their names. We don't know their names. I can't answer that right now. So, I was really on a roll there. Okay. The idea of wanting to opt out of this material energy is a valid cause. When you feel like you've had enough of the sustaining of the universe, you've had enough eating, enough sleeping, enough mating, enough defending in this material universe. When you've had enough of all of that, then you can opt out, and that's why the great souls come to give us a glimpse and understanding of the spiritual realm. And they say you can come here and never have to go through this anymore. You'll become a little more than an ordinary jiva in the material world. You'll become part and parcel, or you become the natural servant of Krishna in a voluntary and beautiful state that that brings about happiness in every moment. You can give up this material world of birth, death, disease, and old age. Okay, I'd say. But it's a very large creation. There is a spiritual sky. Beyond the sky of the spiritual planets are three. They are under the names of Vaikuntha, and all of them constitute 3/4 of the entire creation. God's creations are always innumerable. Whatever Krishna does is basically innumerable. Just like his qualities, as described, his qualities are innumerable. His happiness is innumerable, uncalculable. And his pleasure is immeasurable. So, and he is the fountainhead of all happiness and bliss. But whatever he does, basically, in this creation, is always innumerable. So you can't count the planets, you can't count the universes, even so many. Even the leaves of a tree cannot be counted by a man, nor the hairs on his head. However, foolish men are puffed up with the idea of becoming God himself, though unable to create a hair on their own bodies. I'm God, but no, I don't know how to create hair. Not even one hair. Maybe later on, when I become more fixed up as God, I'll be able to create some hair. Right now, it just grows, and I really don't know how. So, therefore, my my position is definitely not godlike yet, but I'm getting there. All right. Man may discover so many wonderful vehicles of journey, but even if it reaches the moon by his much advertised spacecraft, he cannot remain there. The same man, therefore, without being puffed up as he were the God of the universe, abides by the instructions of the Vedic literature, the easiest way to acquire knowledge in transcendence. So let us know through the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam of the nature and the constitution of the transcendental world beyond this material sky. In that sky, the material qualities, especially the modes of ignorance and passion, are completely absent. The mode of ignorance influences the living entity in the habit of lust and hankering. And this means that in Vaikuntha Loka, the living entities are free from these two things, lust and hankering. As described in Bhagavad Gita and in the Brahma Bhuta stage of life, one becomes free from hankering and lamentation. Therefore, the conclusion is that the inhabitants of the Vaikuntha planets are all Brahma Bhuta, living entities, as distinguished from the mundane creatures who are all compact in hankering, in lamentation. When one is not in the mode of ignorance and passion, one is supposed to be situated in the mode of goodness in the material world. Goodness in the material world also at times becomes contaminated with the touch of the mode of passion and ignorance. And in the Vaikuntha Loka, it is unalloyed goodness only. Pure goodness, Shuddha Sattva, that which can be attained through the chanting of the holy names. One can actually reach the level of pure chanting Shuddha Sattva. That's Krishna's names. He's in pure goodness. And by chanting very sincerely and very determined, one can also reach that Shuddha Sattva platform, that pure state of goodness where everything becomes completely blissful and happiness and never stops. Always. Just like the spiritual world. So one can have that even in this material world by the chanting process of Harinam Sankirtan that Lord Chaitanya has given us. More and more chanting, that's the key, is the chanting. There's no other key. That's the key for the conditioned souls in the material world in Kali Yuga, is the chanting. So one must apply oneself to this chanting very sincerely and very enthusiastically, and never give it up. One will reach that state of Shuddha Sattva and experience the happiness of pure chanting, which is just like being in the spiritual world, according to this purport in verse. So there's a lot more purport. I'm going to stop here at this point. And anybody, whoever watches this, you may enjoy it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.